So you have asked me the questions. I get a lot of messages in my inbox over questions that are pertaining to life and mindset. Today, I want to address some of those questions from the viewers out there who are asking for shifts in their mindset, for a perspective. We will talk about their stories. I will read their questions, and my guest and I will do our best to hopefully answer you and get some clarity in your lives right after this. What is mindset? Our mindset is based on what we believe, and anything we believe in, we put into motion. I have spent my life putting the mindset of perseverance into motion, and now I am here today to share my journey along with others whose mindsets have changed the course of their lives. Hi, I'm mindset coach Lorraine Lindsey, and I believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. So are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of The Mindsetters, where we believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. And the intention of today's show is to do just that. There are a few of you out there, or many of you out there, that are sending questions about certain things that are going on in your life and just needing some guidance and some understanding. So today, the intention is to grab a few of those questions and hopefully answer the best that we can, as I said earlier. Before we get into these questions and me introducing my guest, please do not forget to hit the subscription button. Again, we love to hear from you, so give us a thumbs up and send us your comments. It is comments like the ones we're going to talk about today that we sometimes want to bring up on the show and address them directly to the audience. I do believe that a lot of what people are sharing with me and asking me pertain to a lot of people out there that are watching and are looking for answers. So hopefully some of these questions that I selected for this segment will help you with your perspective. Before I introduce my wonderful reoccurring guests, I am running for Fabulous Over 40. Whoop, whoop. Yes, I am over 40. I know. I can't believe it. But anyhow, this is first of all, it's for a great, great cause. And I was suggested to do this. Now I'm in it to win it. So your votes are greatly, greatly appreciated. I'm currently in the top 5. There's about 2 more segments to this thing, but I really appreciate the votes that I've been getting so far. There is a link below, and I will also add it into the show. Again, if you vote, you have the option of a monetary vote. Those donations do go to breast cancer awareness and to finding a cure for breast cancer. You do not have to vote and pay for your vote, but any vote is very much appreciated. So thank you again out there for voting and supporting me. Okay, so let's get to the show. I want to first introduce my reoccurring guests, the Lipstick Ladies. We were actually going to be doing our own podcast, kind of segmenting, branching off from this show and into something a little bit more lightheaded, a little bit more cocktails and conversation, which is actually how this all started. And the Lipstick Ladies definitely will be a fun thing. So stay tuned for more information about that new podcast. Well, without further ado, let me introduce my first guest, my co-host, Miss Carmen Smith. A little bit about Carmen Smith. She is a local realtor here in the Las Vegas Valley. So if you're looking to buy, sell, list a home, get in contact with Carmen. She's not limited to her real estate expertise. She is also an entrepreneur. She's recently launched her own skincare line, which she creates. She is her own guinea pig, so she tries all the products before she sells the products. As you can see, the before and afters are results that she's had on her own skin. So if you're interested in her skincare line, you can either get a hold of Carmen at CarmenSmith_realtor, or you can go on Etsy, which is Gia Carroll, GIAKHAROL. Definitely want to check that out. Carmen, thanks for being here. And on to my next fabulous co-host. I've got 2 amazing co-hosts today. We've got Miss Charlene Ruiz. Charlene is a lender here. She's a mortgage broker, or is that the right thing to say?
Yeah, we do both. We're a direct lender.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what she does is, if you are looking to buy a home and you need a loan, get in contact with Charlene. I know that the economy is crazy right now, and there's a lot of questions about rates. Get in contact with her. Let her talk to you. Maybe you're ready to buy now, but if not, she can certainly set you up on a plan to get you ready to buy. She is not limited herself to just mortgages. She is a person who believes that the issues are in the tissues.
That's correct.
And she lives and breathes that. She owns her own company, Your Time to Be Fit Coaching, in which she coaches people on nutrition and how to have a better overall body, mind, and spirit. If you want to get a hold of Charlene, you can get a hold of her at sruiz.cmps, or you can go to yourtimetobefitcoaching.com. Ladies,
Let's do it.
that was a mouthful, huh?
Yeah, it
that was a
was.
lot.
Thank
Well,
you.
then you guys are very, intriguing women. Oh, okay. Let me introduce myself. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
I am your host, Coach Lorraine Lindsey. I am a certified peak performance coach. The show here is the Mindsetters. And if you are looking for, I'm doing workshops. I am launching some individual coaching and some some 6-week courses. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, please get in contact with me. You can go to my website, CoachLorraineLindsey.com, or hit me up on any one of the social medias. It's always at Coach Lorraine Lindsey. All right, let's get to the show, y'all. Long intro, but necessary. All right, so today we are going to address some questions that I've been getting. As the TikTok thing has been kind of blowing up and people are starting to go and look and see who I am, they're actually going in, they're actually asking a lot of questions for me. And I'm like, I don't want to answer on Instagram or whatever. Let me see if I can collect a few of these questions and talk to my girls about it so we can have multiple perspectives on it. I'll give my coaching perspective, but I want just everyday people perspective as well. So we're going to go right into it. Some of these questions, I'm putting them up there. It's a little long-winded, but I think they're all really relevant. And I think a lot of people out there will be able to relate to some of these people's stories. So the first message that I got reads this. He says, when I was younger, my blood father was released from prison after never being in the first 12 years of my life. Everyone in my family told me to get to know him, that he loves me, that I'd love to, and that I'd love him. So I gave it a shot. Excuse me, as I'm reading this, I'm reading exactly the way that the people wrote the message. So pardon me if I stumble a little bit. He would take my sisters and I out and give us things we wanted, which gave me a false sense of hope. After the first year, he met a woman with kids and decided that all of them were more important than his 2 children who had waited for them all their lives. Now, I don't blame her or the kids. I love them, but I remember dates. He said he would pick my sister and I up from our moms for the weekend, and I would wait all week at school and was so excited when the weekend would come. We would wait on the sidewalk outside the house for 30 minutes before he said he would be there. To the house would pass, and the time would pass, no call, no text, nothing. He would text on the Monday that something came up, and we would forgive him, and this would happen weekend after weekend to the point where I gave up on him and became bitter and hateful with everything and everyone. It took me a long time to forgive, but I will never forget, and I'm still trying to love everyone and everything as I should. It's been 10 years. Once you learn not to hold that nasty energy in you, it will change you. I did hold it for a long time, and I feel like remnants still remain within my heart, making me depressed every now and then and distant from others. Don't become me. Happy with what you have and love all and everything unconditionally. So first of all, it breaks my heart, right? Because in this gentleman's scenario or situation, his father goes away for prison. 12 years of his life. So no dad for 12 years. He comes out and he gets excited that daddy's going to be there. And he shows him that for the first year. And then meets a woman with kids and completely basically ghosts his children. First of all, I want to thank the person for the vulnerability in that message. Because what I sense from him is that he's being trying to be incredibly proactive and saying that I'm working on it. But it still hurts me. It still makes me depressed. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing I want to definitely say to that person out there is, it's not your fault. What your father chose to do is not for you to blame. It doesn't without the necessarily take away the void and the emptiness that was left in his heart. So how does somebody who experiences something like this find a way to move past it?
That's tough. Kids are impressionable too. That's a big I imagine myself being a kid and what I feel through that. That's a hard place to be. However, him sharing with us right now, I think that in itself is healing and therapeutic, to have feedback and have conversations about and being able to speak on it. Because oftentimes people don't, and they hold on to that and they think there's something wrong with themselves. So that's a tough one.
The part that stuck out to me was don't become me. And it doesn't have to become you either. I don't know how to get past. I have my issues with my dad. I think all of us have dad issues. My dad issues weren't, I didn't want to spend the time with my dad growing up. You know, he wasn't coming for me like that, but I didn't feel like I needed to spend time. I think because of him not showing up while he was in the house. So I held on to a lot of bitterness with my dad that I didn't even know I had until he passed away. So the advice I can give is try to have the conversations with your dad while he's still here. See if he's open to them. Just know he obviously had issues within himself growing up, going to prison for as long as he did. You don't know what he went through.
Right.
So maybe being a little compassionate with that as an adult.
And I would say you have to start with you, right? And one of the things that I took away from the message that he wrote was that I became bitter and resentful to everything and everyone was his message. And that scenario that hurt you made you a hurting person.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to take the scenario that we have in our life because, and as a matter of fact, the workshop I'm doing tomorrow is exactly what we're talking about, is those moments when you didn't feel like you belonged, that you weren't enough, or you felt alone. These are these 3 crippling things that everybody has gone through at a stage in their life, and it usually happens in their adolescence and in their childhood. But to say I didn't feel enough, and that feeling of not being enough made me a bitter and resentful person. Therefore, I was that way to everything and everyone. And then to ask the question, well, if his hurt made me hurt, therefore hurt people, and then maybe can I consider that he was a hurt and wounded person as well?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And to start there, because I think when you can start there, you can unravel your own pain, have compassion for theirs, but it doesn't mean to forget it.
Empathy.
Right.
It's to have that empathy and saying, what was it that led my dad down a path where he would be out of our lives? And what was it that was so important? Because your dad didn't feel enough. So when he meets this woman a year later, whatever her situation was, made him feel like he could get back what he didn't have with you. So it was never about neglecting the children, although, and I don't know if that was the dad's intention, but he definitely not aware and careful about the impact it was going to have on his children. Does it excuse it? No. But to free yourself from saying, don't be like me. No, I would say be like you, be aware, work on your healing, because it sounds to me that he's really reaching for growth. He didn't put that message down because he's a resentful, bitter person, or his message would have been very different.
Right.
Maybe he's trying to create his story differently.
Yeah.
And that's helping him see it and hearing that.
And that's a part of healing.
Yes.
Even reaching out.
Yes.
And giving yourself grace.
Grace.
I think the awareness, like he said, there are times when he gets depressed. But the fact that you have awareness as to what that is, that's profound.
Yes.
And give yourself grace. And I say, you know what, today I'm not okay. Today, this hurts. Today, I'm feeling like I'm not enough. This situation has popped up in my life, and it reminds me of that time when my dad did this. And I am okay with feeling hurt by that today. And I'm going to put myself in a funk, but because I have the awareness of where it's coming from, I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to allow myself to let it come up. I'm going to allow myself to feel and breathe through it. And then I'm going to say, okay, you got until this time, and then tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah.
And just push yourself, because it is hard. I have, as a child, went through abandonment issues as well, as I've shared many times on the show. And it had an ugly way of seeping its way into my adult life, unbeknownst to me. It was something that I wasn't even aware of, that the 10-year-old child was still impacting the 30 and the 40-year-old. So anything else you guys want to say to this one?
No, thank you for sharing. I know that's not easy.
All right, so we're going to go on to the next question. This is a one about betrayal.
Oh.
So this viewer says, I'd like a woman's perspective with formal knowledge of a lot of infidelity, lies, and betrayal conversations focus on men being the culprit. How do you think a man should handle a woman's betrayal? Recently, I found out that the girl I've been with for 7 months went out in the second month to a club and got really drunk and woke up at a man's house. He told her nothing happened, that she went home with him and just slept. Now she's never dated a Latino, only black men her whole life, and I'm completely different from all the men she's dated. So I have to concern that she'd only with me for security. I think he's trying to say, so I only have concern that she's only with me for security. Because every time she gives her number out, it's only to black men. What's your lens on this as a woman?
Interesting.
And do I have a valid reason to believe that she won't go back to what she's used to, which is black men?
Oh boy.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to start right out the gate by saying the issue isn't the black men.
No,
Right.
it's not.
At
I was
all.
just gonna say
No.
the ego, is it pride? Like the bigger concern is that the woman is going out giving her number out. So my perspective, you know what you could do with certain people, right? If you could get away with it, you're going to keep doing it. So are you afraid that she's going to leave if you put your foot down about these things? Why is she so important that you would allow her to do those things to you? Not just about the black man, but just any man in general. Why are you going to the club and finding yourself in somebody's bed? Why would you wake up?
It sounds like he's insecure because he keeps focusing on the black man
Right.
thing. If he's a Latino man that's dating someone that's only dated black men, be proud that she chose you this time around and maybe show up differently. But I could see why he may be just focused on the color of the person because of her history, but I don't think that's why she's doing it.
Well,
I
that's
don't believe
cognitive.
that.
And his
That's
security
cognitive
is that
dissonance,
he's
right?
giving
He's
her
trying to
security.
rationalize that it's because she likes this more than me. And again, I'm going to circle back. Enough. I'm not enough. I don't belong, and I'm alone. In this particular scenario, this person is dealing with not being enough. And when we're dealing with people who are showing up in our life a certain way, know that they're showing up in your life because there was an invitation. And again, I quote Maya Angelou so much because she was so wise. God rest her soul. But when people show you who they are, believe them.
Right.
And this girl has zero respect for you. And if this is something that you're allowing into your life, there's a reason why, and that shows that you have no respect for yourself. When we did that show about standards versus expectations, it's like, dude, you got to raise your standard. It has nothing to do with a preference of man that she likes, because she's with you clearly. So you're focused on the fact that she dates black men, but she's dating you also. So the issue isn't black men.
I think he doesn't trust his judgment either. It sounds like he's very confused about all of that. You're still there, and if that's what you're seeing, then why? I don't know. There's some other things going on there, in my opinion.
There's a saying that goes, men fall in love with women they're attracted to, and women become attracted to the men that they love. And I often find that when there are people in this scenario, and it's a male, for example, I will assume that he's very, very attracted to this woman. He wants her to fit into his box of what he wants a woman to be. And it seems like he's doing what he thinks he needs to do to keep her. Like he said,
Security.
what do you say? That this is a woman, he's the kind of man that's different than what she's used to. But what does that mean? And obviously I've got to read into the text because there's a lot of questions I would have to ask. But it's really self.
Absolutely. You can't expect somebody to love you the way you want to love yourself. You need to love yourself like that first. So if you're trying to get somebody to love you in a certain way, but you don't even love yourself that enough, and you're loving this woman more than you're wanting, how do I put this? Like you want something out of her she's not willing to give to you. And you're trying to fit her in a box, just like you said, because of whatever it is that she brings positive to your life or whatever makes you feel good. But while doing that, you're hurting yourself because you're accepting things that you don't believe in and you don't want to be in your life. So for me, for a relationship to work, we have to want to make it work, right? Because it's two people coming together, and we have to want to know what the other person needs, and are we willing to do that for the other person? So if the other person's not willing to do those things, are you willing to stay and accept them?
And I'm going to challenge the word willing. Some people don't have the capacity.
Exactly.
And so this is a woman who, first of all, there's a lot of red flags here, right? This is a girl who gets drunk and goes home with strangers. I don't care what color he is. That's dangerous.
Right.
There's something about her needing to be enough. So here's what the understanding is when you're challenging your life and you're willing to be the student. What's that expression? I love when you say it. When the teacher shows up when the student shows up or something?
The teacher shows up when the student's ready to learn.
When the student's ready to learn. Yeah. And this is what I would say to this gentleman who wrote this message. Be ready to learn about who you are. What you're attracting is a lot like who you are, but it's just showing up differently. You both have issues with being enough. That's where the connection is between the two of these people. she's in a relationship because from what I gather from just this message, he's some way providing for her. When he says she's not like men that I've been with, it's almost like he's insinuating that she likes black men, but she's with me because I do other things that black men don't do. That's what the underlining message is, according to him, from his perspective, right? But this is a girl who's in a in your mind, a monogamous relationship, in her mind, an open relationship, that she's still out there collecting phone numbers and showing up at going to people's houses. This is a girl who's lost.
How long have they been together? That's the
7 months, it says here.
Oh, 7 months.
7 months. If that's happening in 7 months, that's a disaster in and of itself.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that you have to remove yourself from. But if I were a betting woman, and if I were able to have a little bit more conversation with him, this is not the first occurrence in his life that he's been dealing with women who are not loyal to him. But the issue with that probably is that he's not loyal to himself and his truth.
Right.
And he has to start there.
It could be a culture thing. Maybe she's an African American woman and it's his first time dating.
I don't think all this stuff has anything to do with culture.
I don't think so either.
These are just two people who are toxic and not good for each other. This is utter denial on his part, and insecurities, like you said, and her. She sounds like a hot mess.
The only reason why I say that is because, I mean, in certain cultures, you date your kind, and if you date outside of your kind, there's going to be some noise behind you. Maybe there's noise behind him. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know, it could be many different factors. So to kind of put perspective in that, perhaps we don't know. There's not enough information. But you're right. It's not about the color.
But I think when we're trying to tap into our lives, we can look at the symptoms, or we need to get to the problem. And so we can use, it's because of this. And again, that becomes cognitive
dissonance. Doesn't make it right.
No, it's not to make it right, but we will rationalize those things. That right there could be an easy scapegoat from, it becomes an excuse for that person. Well, maybe because she's this and that. So it doesn't really matter all the different scenarios and variables. When you get down to the root of the story, you're in a relationship that it seems like you want to be monogamous. You have a person who has infidelity issues and is betraying you. Why are you still there? It isn't about what she's doing. It's about asking yourself, why am I still here? What is it about this scenario for my life that I feel that I deserve to tolerate this? And why do I need her specifically to fit into my life if she is a square peg and I'm a round hole?
Right.
There's not a fit here. He's just wanting it to fit for whatever reason. And if I were a betting woman, I would say because he needs to feel like he's enough. And when you have somebody, maybe women in his life before, they dote on him and give him all the attention, and this girl's challenging him in this way.
Maybe.
Right? But it's unhealthy, and it's a toxic way to get your reassurance in your life. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right.
So this lady says, I met the man of my dreams.
Ooh-wee.
He is everything I ever wanted, or so I thought. The relationship has been everything but perfect. People see us like the perfect couple, but behind closed doors, we are so toxic to one another. He belittles me when he's angry, puts me down, and makes me feel worthless. Then when things are good, he will tell me the complete opposite, as though he never said those things. There are times when I just want to leave, but I just love him so much. I have even told him that I would leave when we have heated fights, and then he begs and pleads for me to stay. So I do, and for a while, things are better. It's a vicious cycle, and I feel so lost. We are not married yet, but I would really like to marry him. He recently proposed, and a part of me is so excited, but the other half of me is so afraid. Everyone around is really excited as well, but again, most of them do not know the truth behind doors. I feel so confused because I love him, but I'm starting to feel like maybe he is not the one. I just don't know.
She does know. She knows.
Yeah, when there's doubt, it means don't. That's what my mom used to tell me.
Knows.
I feel like it's what everybody else thinks. You know, like people get so worried about what everybody else thinks.
Oh, I
Outside
see.
noise.
Yeah,
Okay.
outside family and being a disappointment. Maybe there's a lot of divorce or.
I think also identifying, do you want the fantasy or do you want the truth? You know, because we could fall in love with the fantasy, but that doesn't mean that's the one, you know.
But the man of my dreams, she called it.
Yeah, because obviously there's something that she loves, right? There's something that keeps her, right? And then there's something that she hates. So I'll go back to, again, when you're trying to be two people occupying one space, how do we make this work? And either you're not willing or you're not capable, and really identifying, am I willing to make the changes necessary? Because they're probably toxic to each other, not just him. you know, whatever she's clinging to that she needs that toxicity in her life. Why does she need it? Why is it important? And if he's not willing to do the work and she's not, then why stay together?
And this particular conversation, there's many layers. There's a lot of questions that I would, if the person first came into my office and wanted me to coach them, and this was their story to start off. Why are you here? This is why. There's a lot of layers to peel back here. So it's a very difficult question to answer and to discern without getting down to the nitty gritty, because it's very one-sided, right? She mentions that people love them together.
Yeah.
Here, let me look at this thing. She says, she talks about how he belittles her when he's angry, and then says nice things. And so she feels lost. And so there's a lot, like, again, there's a lot of layers to this. And I feel like until she is accountable for self and her participation in this and what she does, that is why there's confusion. You need to see yourself in something, and you need to see how you respond to that, how you trigger those things. Because I don't condone someone being belittling and mean and whatever, but when people get in fights, they say nasty things, right? Does it excuse it? No. But sometimes you have to scale back and say, well, how did we even get here in the first place? And why am I participating in this? You know, because if this is a back and forth thing, it isn't just one person doing something.
Right.
And so another thing I'm going to say is that, has the conversation been had with your person? Have you shared with how you're feeling? And is this person, looks at you the same way you see them? And maybe they're lost and confused too. And do you all have the type of relationship that you're willing to do some work? Because I don't think that this is beyond doing work. I don't think you should just run for the hills. Do I think you should get married? No. But do I think that if both people love each other and have an openness to learn one another? Again, I don't know.
Or not married yet.
They're not married yet, she says.
No, I'm saying don't get married yet until they get
totally. And I don't know how long they've been together either.
Because once kids get in the mix, if they don't have kids already, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse after you get married to somebody. It doesn't magically fix the problems, and you don't want to be caught in that.
There's only 3 components. I feel like life is all triads, right? Trifectas of things to work. Like the fire. We did Ignite Your Fire many years ago. Heat, fuel, oxygen is what it takes to ignite a fire. If I remove one of those elements, the fire is extinguished, right? There's mind, body, and spirit. In a relationship, there's TLC, and it's not tender love and care. It's trust, love, and communication. If that is what creates a fire and a spark in a relationship, is the strength on all of those 3 things. If one of those things fail, the relationship will not work. So it's a matter of her tapping in and saying, what component is missing and why is this fire? Why am I confused about the fire? And really being able to, it sounds like a breakdown of communication and maybe trust. And trust doesn't always mean fidelity. Trust in being able to communicate, trust in being able to share, trust that when we're angry, we won't say nasty, hurtful things. So really having those conversations, and if you have a willing partner, I think there's a lot of work that can be done here to get them to be better. And I also don't know how old they are and what their relationship experience is. So again, there's many layers to this comment.
And one of the breakdowns in my marriage was, when I go to saying like people willing to do the work, there was a situation and it was like, I need you to do this. And I needed him to do that to make it work. This is not the thing that broke us up, but he told me, no, I can't do that. And I had to decide in that moment, can I live with that? Because I need you to support me. I need you to do, it was that big to me. And when you're in a relationship with somebody and you're not willing to make it work with the other person, is there anything that's even foundational to keep it together?
Right.
That's key.
I mean, this scenario actually resonated with me. I think I chose it because there's some of it that relates to me getting married to my ex-husband. And for me, at the time in my life, I was very smitten and really attracted to him, and very infatuated. It was the relationship was based off a lot of infatuation in the beginning, just wanting him to be it for me, and getting caught up in a relationship where we really, really loved each other. I mean, it was a very toxic relationship, but it was because we really loved each other, but didn't know how to love. Like the love language wasn't clear to us because we both came from very toxic childhoods. So we were just playing that out with one another. And it was a nasty relationship and it was very hurtful. I look back now and I was much more distraught and overwhelmed and just really broken down at that time of my life. Now I could look at it differently and understand we were very young kids. And, you know,
What kept you through the toxicity of it? What was the thing for you that kept you?
well, it was abuse, right? And it was,
Was the abuse that kept you, or what was it about him that made that abuse okay?
yeah, it's a great question. But it was the abuse with the manipulation. So, and then my participation in the abuse. So what would happen is there would be,
I hear abuse in that when you
Yeah,
read
that's
it.
what
Yeah.
I'm trying to ask
Yeah.
you.
I
what
would
it
be,
was.
we would have this incredibly passionate, amazing, adventurous relationship. And then he would get insecure about things and he would just be nasty, mean, and cruel at times. And then I would be like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm getting out of this relationship. And I was firm in that. I was never like quiet about it. I was loud, I am out of here. And then it would turn into, please, baby, please don't leave me, beg and plead, I'll do better, I'll be a better person, and giving me all the promises. Because the problem was, I knew it was bad, but I loved him. And what I thought was love was just familiar to my childhood.
Mhm.
And I know it's a little deep what I'm saying, and it took me years and a lot of work to really realize, again, I was treating and dealing with the relationship symptomatically, never dealing with what the real problem was. The problem was nothing to do with him. I
Mhm.
attracted him in my life because of the problems I had, independent of ever knowing him. And until I was actually able to get the antidote to that, I wasn't able to sever ties from it. And when I got that antidote, I was able to finally remove myself from ever being and attracting those kind of relationships. If I met him today, as good looking as that man is, and I was a single woman, and he came to me with the same shit, I would have no interest in him from the beginning. Like right out the gate, I would be not interested.
So, do you think you were as in love with him as you thought you were?
As I defined love at that time
Right.
and what I thought love was, the answer is yes. Would I understand love to be today? Then the answer is no, because I loved him, but I didn't love myself. And so I thought what that was, that back and forth, that cat and mouse, that
Mhm.
hot and cold, that's what I saw growing up. So that is what I thought was love, and all I need to do was fix it. So I stayed thinking I could fix it. I stayed because I didn't love him. I loved the potential who we could be. I stayed because I needed him to be something for me. I had made a decision. You're going to be my husband. You're going to be my everything. And I was going to refuse to believe otherwise. No matter what he did, I had made my mind up. You're it. And it was painful. And I had to literally lose her. I didn't have to lose him. He was lost first. I lost him first. But then I had to really lose me and say good riddance, because who she was chose this mofo. And I don't want to make those choices anymore in my life without being mad, without being bitter, but forgiving him and then forgiving myself.
Which is where growing in a marriage, because my opinion on this is, it doesn't matter how old you are, how much life experience, when you're bringing two people together in a marriage, there's going to be friction. There's going to be work that needs to be done. We're always learning from each other and we're always growing. Are we doing this together? Do we have that boundary? Do we have that understanding? So when we're younger, of course, we don't know then what we know now, but can we go through this journey of life together and stay together through that? Or is it, nope, you did that to me, I know who I am now, peace. So there's all of those things that there has to be a momentum in that marriage, and it's not constant. There's an ebb and flow in that, and you have to really make the commitment to put but abuse is abuse. I call abuse adultery, addiction, and affairs. Like all those that and abuse, adultery, addiction, and affair. And if any of those occur, and it can't be, I mean, it depends on what your tolerance is and what you're willing to stand behind in your personal life and circumstances, then you make a decision whether it's worth you committing further or not. That's my rule for me.
Right. And in my situation, I was married to him. The most painful thing I had to do was walk away loving him still. Because I knew at some point that the pain, the abuse, the cruelty was it was overwhelming. And I didn't feel like human. I felt lost, and it was just bad, and I need to get out. So I didn't have it in, and I did work to try to save the marriage. I worked to try to get us together and let's go counseling. Let's do this. And he just refused. Was a complete in denial at the time, And again,
He wasn't willing to do the work.
He
Which,
wasn't
to your
willing
point,
to do the work.
communicating
Yeah, he
that to
wasn't
whoever
or
that person
capable.
was. Yeah.
And I, I'd like to think he's a different man today. He's married now, remarried, and he has a child, and we talk on occasion. And he's seen, obviously we're older now,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell he has a lot of remorse about what has happened. But move on. We've moved on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question, because we've got a little bit of time here. All right, so this is interesting because it kind of segues into what we were just talking about. And I actually, when I first read this, had an opinion, but I thought about it and my opinion has changed. So this is what it says. Do you think that it's possible to be someone's game changer when they are in a relationship they are stuck in due to circumstances? I think I'm a game changer, but his wife is the placeholder. Please don't judge me, but I wanted to reach out to you after I saw your message about game changers. I have been with this person for almost 2 years. We are both in love with each other, but we cannot be together 100% because he's
Oh
married.
boy.
They have been married for a while and have kids together who are small. I know he doesn't love his wife anymore and is staying in the relationship because of the kids and for financial reasons. I told him about your video and we had a discussion about it. He told me that I am his game changer for sure. I don't know why your video hit. We have such a great relationship, minus the obvious, and I do truly believe we love one another. I do feel guilty at times, and if I'm being honest, sometimes I feel jealous when he has to leave me. I am trying my best to be patient with the situation because I know I'm his game changer. It's just bad timing.
You are not the game changer until you change the game.
Amen to that.
Elaborate.
So
Carmen was like,
I'm like, I can't wait.
I know, yeah.
No, and so I'll be transparent because I'm in my feelings today because I'm emotional for whatever PMS
You're just
reasons,
Carmencita.
whatever.
It's
I'm
all
just
good.
me.
Yeah.
it's just
No,
human.
I can totally relate to your story. I've been through a very similar situation, getting in a relationship that I did not know the person was married till months later, several months later. What happens is I don't think the man does not love you or care for you. I believe that he probably is in love with you just as much as he loves his wife or whatever place you want to be. However, when men have wives and children, they have a responsibility. If you're religious, they've made a vow before God. If you're not religious, they made a vow to be together. So there's a responsibility that he has to somebody else. I believe that when men are married and they go into relationships with other women, it's a fantasy they sort of create with you, and you participate in that fantasy. And you're a person who becomes their sounding board. They get to complain about their life to you. You're not invested in their life like their wife is invested in their wife. You're not, you don't know the bad, the ugly, what his dirty drawers smell like or what his feet smell like when he hasn't showered because he's all fresh for you when he comes over, you know. So there's a lot of things that wife has to become as a young mother that she's not able to be those things for him. So you become actually a placeholder for him, and she is a placeholder for him.
So you're saying they're both placeholders?
Absolutely. Not saying, I just say that you're not a game changer till you change the game. So who's the game changer? You know what I mean? The wife holds a place that he has a responsibility. If that man died, you can't go to a funeral. You don't get no life insurance benefits. You don't get anything. You're not even recognized. You're the secret. You can't go out in public.
Right.
And for me, finding that out was very heartbreaking for me because I, like I said, I did not know. I was not aware of it. I would have never put myself in a situation like that. And I stayed for several months, maybe about 8 months, listening to lies and this and that. And, you know, it came to a point where I had to just ask myself and go back to loving who I am as a person. Do I want this in my life? Can I accept to be this second woman? That wasn't what I wanted for myself. And I had to put myself first. I had to make my priorities the only priority. The only thing I want in my life is to have a partner that is mine. And this was not it. So I couldn't continue to be in it. So really ask yourself, is this the place you want to hold in this person's life? Because you're not a game changer.
If it's the place you want to hold, AKA
Right.
placeholder.
So I'm going to preface this by saying that anything that I say is just my opinion. There's no judgment ever.
Yeah, no judgment.
Ever. I think the message you just said was for the wife. Don't lose yourself in your marriage, girlfriend. Keep your shit in order. Excuse my language. Make sure you date your man. You stay on top of your game. Just because you're a mom and know all his dirty stuff doesn't mean you don't show up being that girlfriend too. My opinion. Not everybody knows that. Not every wife knows that. Not every husband really cares, and if they don't care, then they shouldn't be there. But if they do,
it's hard for wives to be that.
It is, but
when there are problems in the relationship and their husband isn't, just like she's got to be that, he got to be that too.
Yeah.
And shit happens in relationships and marriages where I don't feel like going on a date with this mofo. He's on my nerves. I mean, there's things that happen, whether it's financial breakdowns and things like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes women go through medical things, or they're getting older, or their body's changing because they have children,
And
and their husbands are
little
acting
ones.
like assholes.
yeah, and that's true, and that's a character thing. But if it's truly because of a fantasy outside of the wife letting herself go or not paying attention, I mean, there's different reasons why men do different things.
I don't even think it has to do, just because I was in that situation. I really think it's just whatever that woman is lacking, and then they find it in another woman.
I don't think the woman's lacking anything. I think he's lacking.
Well, and I'm just talking about because as a responsibility for self.
Right.
Right? I can't be responsible for what somebody else does. I can only be responsible for me.
Right.
Me not knowing this man was married, okay, fine. But when I found out he was married, why didn't I walk away at that moment? My feelings were invested. I'm listening to these lies, this fantasy this person created. I had to check in with myself and have honest conversations with myself. So whatever the wife isn't doing, whatever he's doing, that doesn't concern me because I need to work on
But I think
me.
we have to be very careful with languaging. When we get in our heads that the person who is the victim to this is lacking, that is a false narrative.
No, that's not
That
what I
man
mean
is
at all.
lacking.
No, what I'm saying is the first part of that, when you opened up and said that maybe she's busy with whatever it was that's the only part I'm talking about for the wife.
Yeah.
Everything else is something completely different. As a woman, a wife, a mother, yes, things, and there's times where I can't stand my husband. It's real. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, I love myself enough to hold myself to a standard of me. So if he's supposed to be in my life or not, and I'm just speaking, again, my opinion, if he's going to be there and love me, all of me, or if he wants to wander, then that person probably shouldn't be in my life if it's going to take that. Or if it's an addiction, maybe he has some type of sex compulsion. Who knows? There's all types of reasons or excuses that men do things.
Yeah, I've heard them
but
all.
I'm choosing this too. She's choosing that too. So whatever they're bringing for each other, they're staying in it. Unless she didn't know and now she knows and she's gone.
At the end of the day, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but at the end of the day, only because we're limited on time, but at the end of the day, we can be so external about how we analyze the situation. And to me, it's the wrong place to look at everything. It doesn't matter what that person's lacking, what he thinks I should be doing. All these things are so external. At the end of the day, you have to get clarity with self, and you have to get clear on what you want for your life.
Yep.
If you want a monogamous relationship where someone makes you the priority, and you need to define what that looks like, a whole person coming to you as a whole person. I don't care how much their conversation is about love and it feels good because the responsibilities are elsewhere outside, and you get your vacation boyfriend. The reality is, does this align with what you want for your life? If you want a man who loves you and thinks you're the game changer, how are you defining that?
Right.
Are you defining that about how he shows up for his wife? Are you looking at that man like he's a responsible man? He's with his kids. He married this woman. He won't even leave. Look how good of a man he is. He won't even leave them for me.
Yeah.
It's all lying. I'm clear. I want a man who's 100% devoted to me. I want a real, bona fide, monogamous relationship. That's important to me. I'm clear on that. So much, in fact, that I'm going to be that. I won't be second, third, no matter how I want to categorize myself, no matter what adjective, I can tell myself I'm the game changer. I can be the placeholder. But the reality is it in alignment with what you want for your life? So there are different scenarios. There are people who are in shitty marriages and they got married for the wrong reasons. There's sometimes abuse and they're trying to get out, and they happen to meet people while they're in that storm. And does that mean that some of those people don't genuinely fall in love and then the marriage dissolves and they go on to be with the person that's a better fit for them? Yeah, those things happen. That happens to people. But you're going to sit around for 2 years of your life so far when you're telling me this person has small children, What are you waiting for? You're not clear. It doesn't matter what the other scenarios are. You are not clear in self.
And if you are a game changer, tell him, when he gets his stuff together, to come holler at you.
When you become the game changer,
he'll
she
come.
ain't going to be interested in that.
Right.
Because let me tell you, if you're in a relationship where you're with a person who has somebody else and that person's making excuses of why they're going to stay, even if they decide to finally dissolve that and leave for you, if they're saying it's for you,
Right.
you're going to live the rest of your life wondering if they're going to do it to you.
Right.
And I don't want to live with that. I'm going to go to the last question because we are running out of time, y'all. Okay, this question is, I saw your TikTok on forgiving mothers. I thought you had good intentions with your message, but how do you forgive a mother who has been abusive to her children her entire life? My mother had a serious drug problem. She would leave us for days at a time, and there were also different men in and out of our lives. Some of those men were very abusive to us, and she did nothing to protect us. I'm the oldest of 4, and I felt my entire childhood was spent taking care of and protecting my siblings. My mother recently got sober, and now she expects us to forgive her and forget about all the damage she has caused. She is not accountable at all for what has happened in our lives. I resent her, and I don't think she deserves forgiveness. I just can't do it. I don't know how.
Interesting. Yeah, that's tough. I'm a believer, honor thy mother, thy father. You just create your boundary lines and what that is for you. I can love you from here. I don't have to be all in all the time. And I think that's what we learn about, for me, our relationships with our parents and our father, mother, whoever. That's my opinion. That's how I see that. But that's a tough place to be. It's hard to, forgiveness is a self thing. It's not really for her, it's for you, whatever.
And it's difficult when that person wants to be in your life and there's a part of your empty childhood that wants that person to be in life. But what happens is that person says, I'm better. Look what all the hard work I did. Can't you see me now? The other person's like, I'm never going to get from you what I needed, and I need you to still be that. And so there becomes this conflict. But I'm going to circle back to like what you said, and we've done shows on forgiveness before. The forgiveness isn't for the person. The forgiveness is for yourself. And it's freeing yourself from what happened and the story you tell about what happened. Because this is what happened to you in your life. Those are facts. That is real. This is my story. It made me feel this way. This is the hurt and pain that I have. This is the anguish. This is the result. This is how it's shown up in my life. That's the story. And it's a matter of saying, okay, let me separate how I tell this story, how I see this person, and find a way to be empowered by it instead of being powerless. And sometimes the forgiveness is saying what she did and the choices she made and who she's trying to be today is none of my business. I can only see her for who she is today. That is someone who does not have permission to be my mother, but I can just see her as a human being and have compassion for her growth and her sobriety. That's it. And find a space in that, because nothing your mom's...
It's a boundary.
It's a boundary. You have to create those boundaries. And if your mother doesn't want to be accountable, I don't know if she even knows how, but that's still not your problem. But it's like having that hard conversation and saying, Mom, you hurt me as a child, and I know that you cannot change what has happened. I respect and I love that you found your journey into sobriety. However, until we are able to have a conversation that creates accountability for my healing, I want you to stay away. I wish you the best. If that's what you feel like you need to say. It's hard conversations sometimes with people we love.
There's resistance getting close to someone that's hurt you, even if it is your mother.
And who says you have to get close?
Right.
And it goes back to saying, like, obviously she was on drugs. What did your mother go through to get her to that stage in life where she had to disconnect from being a parent? What did she go through as a child? And maybe try to take the empathetic route of looking at what did this woman, independent of her children, who was she?
Yes.
Before she got on drugs,
Right.
before she had kids, and maybe trying to see her in a different light. If you want clarity and understanding, to try to forgive. Maybe that's the approach to
I
take.
think also the idea we have in our own head of what a mother is creates that too. Because, a mother could be someone that's there at your beck and call all the time, got your back. Or a mother could just be somebody that, if you call them, they're there to. There's so many different ways to define what somebody believes a mother is, especially when you haven't had it. You have all these ideas of what it was or what it should be.
And maybe that's where you get your clarity.
Yeah.
You say, what I would have loved for my mother to be is this. This is what I would have loved. Maybe saying it to her, what I would have loved for you to be is this. What I understand now and I'm learning to accept is that is not who you were. and I forgive you for that. And I'm letting it go. You don't get to be in my life as my mother. You get to be in my life as the person you are today. And maybe you don't. But the burden of carrying around the anger will never serve you. That is what the forgiveness is all about.
Yeah.
It's to say, that was their choice. And I get to choose now. And I won't carry that childhood with me everywhere I go any longer because it breaks my heart.
Yes.
And that person no longer gets permission to have that kind of power. So how do we want to close? What do we want to say? I actually got through all the questions, so I'm proud.
Yay.
Because we're limited on time. But first of all, I want to tell everybody out there, just thank you so much for the vulnerability, to asking the questions. There is no judgment. It's just a talk. Keep the comments coming. Keep sending us your questions. I try to get to as many people as I can. I try to read everything that people are saying, good, bad, and indifferent, because I get some mean messages too, which I actually love. But just thank you. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to tell a story. It shows your incredible strength in your journey to heal. And I applaud each and every one of you for that. Ladies, do you want to say anything before we close?
No, thank you. I mean, that's how we all grow. We learn, we do, we teach. That's what this life is. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, and we'll be praying for you guys. Well, I will be.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes,
Me
of
too.
course.
We're some praying women,
That's
okay?
right.
Yeah.
I am not ashamed. I am
me
praying. I
neither.
love my Jesus and my
That's
Lord.
right.
Okay.
Blessings to everyone and your problems, and I pray that you guys get through them, and hopefully we shared something that you can learn from. Let us know.
Yeah, thank you. And until next time, again, don't forget to hit the subscription button. Send us your comments. And if you have questions, please, either one of us, get in touch with us and let us know some questions you may have. And until next time,
Make sure you vote for Lorraine.
vote
40.
Fab
We
over
gotta
40.
do that.
Woo, woo, woo. Ciao.
Bye.